Hello, I think we are live now. So welcome,
Yeah,
Peter. We are here again. It's been a while, but we are excited to get started with another webinar, this time on passkeys. So no more use of passwords. Passkeys is the new way of working in a secure way. It's based on a session that you presented at Tech Connect in Brussels, which was
that's
a
right.
short session, about 30 minutes, but now we'll explore a bit deeper with more demos. So I'm excited to see what you are able to present us as a magician on passkeys.
Yeah. Well, I've learned a lot the past few weeks. In fact, on the passkeys, of course, I had some kind of an advantage because I was familiar with FIDO2 hardware security keys, such as those from YubiKey and such. But yes, indeed. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to, yeah, recap a little bit what I've been telling at Tech Connect. So a more general presentation about passkeys. And I'm going to spice it up a little bit with demos, real life this time. So not as during Tech Connect, where I did use some pre-recorded videos.
Yeah.
And then as a second part, I'm going to zoom in on how things work with our solutions with which are Verify SaaS and Verify Access.
Okay, that sounds great. I don't think we have any time constraints, but we'll try to keep it within 1 hour. And of course, if there are questions, we will be monitoring the chat and we'll try to address any questions if there are any. So take it away.
Yeah, thank you for being the producer, Yves. Yeah, first of all, a special thanks to my colleague Shane Wien from Australia, which who has helped me a lot in understanding and playing around with the passkeys and FIDO2 in general. So, part one. Let's go phishing. So, I noticed that some people have a hard time in understanding how some authentication methods can be phished. And for that, I'm reusing a pretty old picture here, where I'm going to show you what's happening. For example, if you as a user go to a site such as IBM and you use multi-factor authentication. So this goes like this. So as a user, he's going to www.ibm.com. He's asked for his username password, and of course he enters his username password, and then the site says, okay, it's multi-factor authentication here, it's strong authentication, here's your one-time password, which is in this case 2358, and then the user grabs that from his email or whatever, or SMS message, puts that in the site, in the form, and then the site says, okay, you're in. So this is the happy flow. There's no phishing here. But what happens if that same person is tricked, is phished? And that's what's happening here. So there's the man in the middle on the right here, the hacker, and he has set up a site which looks a lot like the site of IBM, but it's IBN this time. So he's tricking the user to click on a link that he received via phishing email. And the user, of course, which is not always 200% cautious, simply follows that link to ibn.com, the hacker's website. What's happening then is that at the same time, the hacker is going to connect to ibm.com, to the real site, and also ask the same user for his username password, which the user then will give, and the hacker will receive that in clear text. And use that username password to communicate with the real IBM.com. The real IBM.com is not cautious of what's happening, and it's sending over an OTP. And as you can guess, the OTP is then simply given to the hacker, and the hacker is giving it to IBM, and there you go. The hacker is now in, and he can even reply to the user of saying, okay, you're in, and redirect them to the real website. So this is what phishing is, or it's one form of phishing. And there are, in fact, not a lot of multi-factor authentication mechanisms that can actually prevent this, because there's no binding between the password or the credentials and the domain, which is in this case IBM.com. So this is just one of the problems that we have with passwords. There are many problems with passwords, and for this, and this remembers me of our little quiz that we did at Tech Connect.
Yeah.
We were asking, okay, do you know what credential stuffing is? Do you know what password spraying is? What is a brute force attack, and so on? Yeah, it's the nature of passwords is simply demanding for this kind of attacks, because they can be executed from remotely. So the hacker just sits down somewhere on the internet from whatever country. He's using leaked passwords, or he's trying with weak passwords, and he's trying that out on whatever site he wants. So we're not going to dwell too long on what's wrong with passwords. It's mostly everything, in fact. So we're looking for other things now, and luckily last summer Google, Microsoft, and Apple, they finally agreed on something, and that something is passkeys, and that is the topic of today. All right, passkeys are part of the FIDO standards, and FIDO stands for Fast Identity Online. And it's sponsored by the big authentication companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, of course. Also password managers are part of that. IBM is part of that, and so on. And let's compare what we have mostly today with passwords and what FIDO can offer us. And a password is a symmetric secret, right? So it's stored at server side, and it's stored somewhere in your password manager, or on a note, or even in your head, but it's symmetric. So both parties, the client and the server, they have the same secret, and it's mostly human generated. While what FIDO offers is something completely different. First of all, it's based on asymmetric crypto, so also known as public key crypto. And so as such, it's machine generated. It generates, let's say, to simplify, a 32 very complex key pair, in fact, which is machine generated, and which you are not supposed to remember or reuse at all. Passwords can, of course, be reused, and then all the things that we had. With FIDO, this is quite different, because in this kind of authentication, every credential is bound to one single domain, one single relying party. So no more phishing, as in the example that I've shown with IBM.com versus IBN.com. Easily phished by tricking, as in the picture I've shown. Also, there's a shoulder surfing, when you look over somebody's shoulder, and you might have seen his password, or you can simply walk down the street, and if you're lucky, somebody will, if you tell a little story, they will eventually reveal their password. There are a lot of funny YouTubes to see there on the net. And of course, it's with all of these problems, it's subject to a lot of misery, and a lot of cybersecurity attacks, credential stuffing, password spraying, server leakage, which means that if you have an e-commerce site and you have 100 million users, it's likely that you also have 100 million passwords out there. And if they leak, if you're under attack and these passwords are leaked, they can be available on the darknet, or they can be used in attacks and so on. So it's the bad situation where, yeah, the world is struggling with. And with FIDO, that's quite different, because you cannot remotely attack this. There's nothing to steal, in fact, at the server side, because all you will have, something I will explain later, at the server side is the public key. And as the word says, it's public. So, right, it's doesn't harm if you lose it. So I said asymmetric crypto, the basis of good security practice, in fact, in general. And in FIDO, there are two parties. There's the client on the one hand, that's you trying to access services. So you have your computing device, a smartphone, a PC, a workstation, and so on. And then you also have your authenticator, something that will authenticate you. This is where the private key is residing. That's the client side. When you go to an application such as booking.com and so on, or you go to the relying party server. So that's the part that's in fact authenticating you. It's the website. It's also known as the FIDO server, and this is where the users are known with their public keys. And what's happening in FIDO is the typical use of asymmetric crypto for authentication. And it goes as follows. For many of you, it will be a sort of a recap, but that doesn't harm, I guess. So the client is wanting to go to the web server, and he says, okay, I'm ready to log in. And then the web server is going to create some random number, random string, which is called the challenge, and is giving that to the client. And then the client is going to take that and is going to ask his authenticator, in fact, to sign that challenge with the use of the private key, and to, let's say, start using, to do that calculation, to use that private key. It's typically going to use biometric things like a fingerprint or a face ID, or a PIN number, a 6-number PIN number, for example, and then come up with the signed challenge. And it's then going to hand that over to the other side, to the server. And then the server side is simply going to verify if the user has the private key that belongs to the public key. And if that's the case, then all is good, all is happy, and the authentication is done, and the user can access the website. So that's how FIDO works in a nutshell. When you start looking for why, there's of course much more to tell, and this is a pretty busy slide, but I wanted to point out here is that basically what FIDO is it's WebAuthn. That's one part of the protocol, and it's CTAP. And let's start here at the right. So the relying party, that's a website. It's using, or it's sending code using WebAuthn, the WebAuthn, which stands for Web Authentication, by the way, to the client device. And then the client device, which is, for example, or in many cases a browser, will then interpret this WebAuthn calls. And actually, it's the client device that does the authentication, and the resulting responses are getting back to the relying party, to the server. So that's WebAuthn. And then, of course, if we're talking about security keys, which are also known as roaming authenticators, because you must bring that device, like a YubiKey, to your device, for example, using USB typically, but it can also be Bluetooth or NFC. And that protocol to let the client device talk to such a roaming authenticator is called CTAP. And CTAP stands for Client to Authenticator Protocol. So that's in a nutshell the components. I'd like you to remember in a very simple way. It's WebAuthn and it's CTAP.
And YubiKey is one of the most commonly known companies that provides these security keys, right?
That's correct. That's correct. So Yubico is the manufacturer or the company that distributes and sells these YubiKeys. And but there are others too. So there's something like FIDO, and there are a number of, I think there are about 5 manufacturers of these keys. And these have been around for quite a while. And the FIDO organization has always made quite some, let's say, publicity to use these because it's an extremely secure way to authenticate users, because it's phishing resistant, because of what we just explained. Now, the thing with security, hardware security keys, as the ones from YubiKeys, is of course that actually it's hard to say to the world, okay, stop using passwords, start using these security keys, for a number of reasons. First of all, there's the cost. You have to have the security key, and there is also no way to, or no easy way to recover when you lost your key. So what happened is the FIDO organization introduced something new, and that's the passkey. And it's in fact very similar to what a YubiKey is, except for it's meant to replace the password this time.
So instead of storing it on a physical device, they store it into a browser and maybe share it using cloud services, so you can use it on different platforms. Yes,
that's exactly what I'm going to tell. So it's going to be cross-device, and it's sometimes also called like a virtual authenticator, because it's not really a specific thing that you need to store the private key and other data, but it can be stored on your client device, and it can also be shared between devices. So the passkey is, as we will see, more like a multi-device authenticator instead of a single device authenticator, such as a YubiKey. So what is a passkey then? And to show that, I will start with a very small demo now. And the demo will be how we at IBM, or at least myself as IBM, log in to our internet sites, w3.ibm.com, and I'm using a passkey on my MacBook. So Yves, if you can you switch over to the other?
It's already there.
It's already there. Oh yes, I can see it. Good. So what I will do is I will switch to my Google Chrome.
And we have a nice view on the fingerprint of your MacBook.
Yeah, that's over here. So in this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm working at IBM. I'm going to show how I log in. So and I know I need to log into IBM if I go to one of the services that we use, which is Box, which is a file sharing authentication, file sharing application, I mean. Okay.
You need the
I need to
intranet,
go.
the VPN, no?
No. It's just it's not that. It's the voila. So I'm going to Box, and when I go to Box, I have to authenticate with IBM. And to authenticate with IBM, you can already see what's happening here. This is popping up. It says use your passkey for login.w3. I say continue, and then watch the finger going here. And there I go. I've logged into my company, and therefore the only thing I had needed to use is my fingerprint. So there's no other hardware or security key going on here. It's simply a passkey that I previously registered at IBM. So to make this demo a little bit more, let's say, technical, what I will do now is I will go to my settings at IBM. That's bringing me here. And by the way, so you can see that, or maybe you cannot see, but just know that we are also using our solution Verify SaaS here internally at IBM.
This is the portal of Verify SaaS.
This is indeed the portal for the users, by the way, from Verify SaaS. And if I go to that portal, which I've just done, and I go to my security settings, I can look at my own security settings now. So if you looked well, it says you must use two-factor authentication to see your security settings. And I didn't have to provide that. And why is that? That is because the passkey that I used to log in is considered as a strong factor, as a multi-factor authentication. So I don't have to do anything else like looking at my phone if there's a push message, or if there's a text message with an OOTB or something. So here's my here's how this looks for me then. So of course I've registered with our authenticator, and in fact I've previously registered this passkey, and this is how this looks like in our Verify application. And you can see the passkey is bound to this domain, so w3.ibm.com. All right, so next to passkeys, I can also register other hardware devices if I really want to. So personally, I'm also using a YubiKey for other purposes, also for test purposes. And this then is a hardware security key, as you can see over here, and it's associated with the same domain. All right, that's it for the first demo, I guess. Can you switch back to presentation mode, Steve?
Yep.
That's done, I see. Okay, back to presentation mode. So what's a passkey? So in my own words, it's simply a replacement for the password, but it's supposed to be more user-friendly and more secure. So that's the sales pitch, let's say, for passkeys. So let's start using passkeys because it's so much better than passwords. And it's with the technology that we have now and the support also from the FIDO organization and the big companies, let's say, this becomes possible in the coming years. Technical definition is, it is a FIDO credential, right? But it's also discoverable. And what we mean by discoverable is that it's in fact something that can be discovered by the client applications, such as the browser. And something that we will see during the demos it can detect if there is a credential for you when you go to that site. For example, if I go to w3.ibm.com, it can see, okay, in the browser can see, okay, there is a passkey for you there. Let me use that passkey. So the website can discover who the user is, and this allows for what is called typing less sign in. You don't have to type anything. It will suggest you, okay, do you want me to use this credential? And that's very similar to what we're used to today with passwords, in fact, because yeah, it's the famous autofill in the different browsers, Chrome, Firefox, and so on. So that's the technical definition of a passkey. Previously, this was called, by the way, a resident key credential, because in fact, the authenticator has this set of keys it can use. So it holds the private key together with the username that it belongs to and the domain for which it can be used. Okay. So we already talked about multi-device passkeys. So what exactly is this then? So with passkeys, there's this new concept of not having the private key on one single device, like a hardware device, like a hardware security key, but to have them on more than one device, so multi-device. And a nice example is within the Apple ecosystem, when you register for a passkey, for example, on your MacBook, it will automatically also be available on your other Apple devices, such as your iPhone, your iPads, and so on. So this solves something that was quite of a hassle with the hardware security keys, because you created a passkey on such a hardware key, but if you lost that key, yeah, it was lost, right? You had to register again, or you had to take your precautions, like having 2 or 3 of these hardware security keys. So this problem is kind of solved when you start using something that synchronizes between the different devices. And for that, as you can see on the picture here, you have this so-called synchronization fabrics. So this is the system that allows you to synchronize. So for example, within the Apple ecosystem, this is the iCloud keychain, which allows you to do so. So you create a passkey, it's everywhere on your devices. If you delete it, it's the same thing, it's deleted everywhere. So this is done in a bit different ways depending on the operating system. So for example, Google does now such a synchronization between your different Android smartphones. It does not do this when you use Chrome, for example. And also the password managers are beginning to pick this up, in the sense that they can also play this role of synchronization fabric. So when you create a passkey, it can be available, it can be stored in your password manager and then be used wherever you want it to be. Very similar to what password managers do today with regular passwords. Another thing is here that is you can easily do what is called device bootstrapping. And what is that? That is, you can use your mobile phone to log in to or to use your passkey to log in to a workstation, a Chrome or a Safari on a workstation. So this is again much more convenient than as when compared with the hardware security keys. And also the recovery. So if you lose one of these devices, well, it's very likely you still have them on the other devices, and so they can be recovered. And if not, it's depending on the synchronization fabric. There's probably still a way out, so that you don't have to re-register all these passkeys again. All right, let's do another example. So in this example, what I will do is I will go to one of the real life websites that are already using passkeys. And this website is kayak.com. And I'm going to log into kayak.com. What has been happening previously is that I've registered a passkey at kayak.com, and now I'm simply going to use it and show you how the experience is in real life on a site that's already using it. So, Yves, can you switch to the other mode?
Okay.
Thank you. So, here I am. I'm on Safari. I've registered a passkey, and I'm now going to kayak.com. So this is a real life e-commerce site. I'm signing in. And then here you see this happening. So it's already suggesting. So this is the discovery part. In fact, it's already suggesting, do you want to log in as Peter at peterv.testinator.com? And I say yes. I'm logged in. It's as simple as that. I'm a bit.
So we use your passkey for that.
That it's already logged me in. In fact, so without even prompting me for an authentication. So let me do that again.
Yeah, we already took your passkey.
Yeah. Yeah, but should have done. It's a bit. Yeah. Okay. I'm a bit troubled by this because it should have asked for my fingerprint, but it did not. Okay. I'll try to sort it out after the meeting on what's happening here. Anyway, what I wanted to show you here is that where are these passkeys stored then? So for that, if you go to your Safari and then settings and then password, you can see that the passkeys are held together in the same tab passwords. And if you look for specific sites, you can see that there is a passkey for this user, Peter at peterv.testinator.com. You cannot do a lot with this. So you can, within Apple, you cannot even see that this is a passkey. So it's actually looking at this in the very same way as it looks at passwords for you. Okay, the only thing you can, of course, see it is that if you do an edit, it will allow you to add a password to it. Okay, and also you can see it, okay, if you want to delete, and here it's actually using the word passkey. So this is good, in fact, because it's meant to be very, very similar to passwords.
Maybe if you delete it here and try to log in again.
If I delete it here, well, I cannot log in because I have no registered passkey. So
I will send you a mail then.
Yeah, it will try to, no, it will not try. It will send me an email with a one-time password, kind of a magic link to log in.
Yeah.
Maybe I can do one attempt, but let me first show you how this looks like on my iPhone. Because as I said, if you have a passkey over here, it should also be on all your other Apple devices. And one other Apple device that I have here is my iPhone. So if I go to my iPhone and then settings, and then passwords, and I search for passwords here, so you can see that actually the same passkey is in fact also at this device. And here the interface is a bit different. It actually says, okay, it's a passkey and it was created yesterday. Okay. So that's that for the second demo. What I can do, of course, is...
So if you delete it, sorry, if you delete it on your phone, it should also be deleted on your Safari, right?
Yes, that's correct. So if I delete it here on the iPhone, or if I delete it here on the Safari, which is in fact on my MacBook, it will be deleted at both sides.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm going to try to do it right this time. If I go to, I stopped the Safari. I'm now, if I sign out, sign in again with my passkey. No, I'm logged in directly. I don't know how that happened exactly. Sorry for that. Okay. All right. Let's switch back to the presentation then.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now, this all looks very brilliant and good, and we're going to replace all passwords now, and there's nothing more secure than passkeys. Well, this is not exactly the case, of course. There's a sort of a, there's a few things that need some care and consideration when start using passkeys instead of, for example, hardware security. So hence, let's talk a little bit about the security spectrum here. Meaning that if we look at the spectrum and looking at security, what's the least secure is, of course, using a password. On the other side, what's extremely secure is using the security keys, such as those from YubiKey and FIDO. And these are, in fact, passkeys that are device bound. They are created in this micro hardware thing in the key, and they will never leave the key. So they have a very strict security thing. You can never, copy them. They cannot be moved to another device. And you can even have control on which exact device you're using it. Then, of course, there's something better than passwords, and this is a bit of the state of today, is that we're using a password, and then we're asking some kind of multi-factor authentication. But as we've seen, the multi-factor authentication is not always, or most of the time, not phishing resistant. And then in between those two, in fact, but a little bit closer to the device-bound passkey is the syncable passkey. That's the multi-device passkey that we've been showing and that we've been talking about. Why is that not so secure as a device-bound passkey? This has to do, of course, with the fact that it's not bound to a specific device. And so you cannot have policies on this kind of login, policies that have to do with so-called FIDO attestation. And FIDO attestation is where you can put a policy to say, my users, they can only use this type of security key. Or with this type of security, I can, for example, say they can only use the YubiKey 5CI or something. And because you know that, because you trust that thing. Now with a syncable passkey, that's no longer the case, because it's a passkey can be a little bit of everywhere. It's a multi-device. It can be used across ecosystems and so on. So you lose some of the very strict security of the device-bound passkey, but on the other hand, what you gain is enormous. in the sense that there are no more server leakages because there's nothing to be leaked if you start using passkeys on the server side. And for the users, there's nothing to generate or think of a good password. They will never see the password, so it's the passkey, so it's impossible to leak it also that way. And it's phishing resistant. So eventually, when you look at passkeys, of course, the syncable passkeys, which are now today still pretty, let's say, rare, but they will become the prevalent type of passkey, right? Because it's actually meant for the masses. It's not meant for very strict security as for your employees or for very secure applications. So that's the security spectrum. Let's talk about a user experience then. So I think we've already seen what's happening on the level of user experience. So because the key is discoverable, it will prompt you if there's a key available. So again, this looks very similar to what we're used to with passwords. And to demonstrate that, there are two pictures here. And this picture is on a Safari on a Mac OS, and it's suggesting you to use a passkey. On the right-hand side, it's the same website, in fact, but it's using Chrome. And yeah, here, in fact, it's also suggesting, do you want to use the passkey? Because you can, if you look very good, you can see use Touch ID here, or you can use a password. Maybe that calls for a small explanation. Most of the sites that are introducing passkeys, they also have they do the registration with the password, or they simply leave that open because they don't want to change the user experience too much in a too short time, in fact. One exception is this kayak.com website, which is in fact never using a real password. At registration's time, they're sending a magic link to the user. And he's then directly prompted, in fact, to start using a passkey. So that's one of the currently rare websites that does this very well, I guess, because they're not using passwords in any way, at least not for newly registered users. All right, so very similar to passwords, privacy preserving, meaning you will never get to see a passkey. So even if you look in your password in your Chrome, as we will see in the demo a bit further on, you will not actually see the key, right? Or it will not be shown on the screen when you log in. It will simply prompt you, okay, I have a passkey. Should I use it, yes or no? And on top, it's also a user experience that's pretty easily to implement in your website because of all the SDKs and examples that are popping up to start using passkeys. Cross-ecosystem experience. So the bootstrapping is one nice thing about this. So bootstrapping, meaning that you can use your mobile phone with a passkey to log into a website that you're trying to open on your workstation or your laptop. So that's one thing. And it's also cross-ecosystem, meaning I can use my iPhone when I go to my Windows laptop, for example, and that's where I can use my iPhone to log into a website on Chrome. So yeah, it's convenient to have that, and a new experience, in fact, within the FIDO world. All right, next is a short demo again, using kayak.com again. This time I'm going to use Chrome. So I'm using the same user. The user has, as we've seen in the previous demo, it has a passkey within the Apple ecosystem. So it's on the Mac, it's on the iPhone. And I'm going to use Chrome now on my Mac, but it also works on Windows 10 and 11, believe me. I've tried it, but it's a bit harder to demonstrate. So I'm going to use Chrome. So Chrome is it's a different browser, of course. It doesn't have direct access to the passkey. So what it's going to prompt me is say, okay, do you want to use a passkey from another device? And then I'm going to say yes, and then you will see what's happening. But what will be happening is I will be prompted for a QR code, and then I will have to scan that QR code with my phone, and then I can log into kayak.com with a passkey. Okay, so if you can switch, it's already done.
All right.
All right. So here I am. I'm on. Wait. Yeah, I'm using Chrome here. Okay, so I'm going to Chrome here and use. I'm going to kayak.com. And when I sign in, you see, as opposed to the Safari, it's not going to prompt me, okay, do you want to sign in with your passkey? Because it doesn't, the Google doesn't know that I have a passkey. It cannot access the same data, but it's going to prompt me with this, use a passkey on a different device. That's exactly what I'm going to do here. So I get this prompt from Google. Then I use my camera. So I'm not using, I'm simply using my camera here, not some authenticator or so. I sign in with the passkey. And what you see here now is important. You see connecting. So connecting is to make sure that the device is nearby the other device. So it's using Bluetooth to see if the device is near. So this is an extra form of security, in fact. And then it's prompting me, do you want, yeah, you have a key on this device. Do you want to use it to sign in to kayak.com? Of course, I say yes. I've provided a Face ID and I'm logged in. So this is the cross ecosystem, cross device experience that I was talking about. All right. Anything else I can show here? Well, no, no. So if you want to know, okay, what are the passkeys that I have stored within Google here? Well, you will not find that this one for Kayak is there, but there are some other ones, and I can simply show you around on how that looks. So if you go to Password Manager, and then Google, for some reason, decided to keep these things apart, passwords and passkeys. So you have to go to Settings, then Manage Passkeys, and you can see the passkeys that are known by this Google, in fact, or on this device. So remember the first demo that we used to log into IBM.com, to the internal IBM.com, that's there, and then a few other ones that I've tried out. All right, back to the presentation then.
Okay.
Thank you. So this is all nice. How does IBM do this or implemented this in their products? And we've been involved in this FIDO authentication for quite a while, namely since 2019. And we've been certified since then also, and we have two products, in fact, that allow you to use FIDO2 be it hardware security keys or be it passkeys, and these are verify access for the on-prem part and verify SaaS for the SaaS part. So what we offer with these products is an out-of-the-box registration of passkeys, out-of-the-box authentication and two-factor authentication with the passkeys. And we also offer what is called a FIDO-as-a-service interface, and meaning that there are APIs available in these systems that allow you to completely build your own registration and authentication experience on another website. And that website can then make use of our APIs to do what it needs to do with passkeys. Okay, so wrapping up this first part, what are passkeys? It's a replacement for passwords. It's cross-ecosystem, cross-platform, and meaning you can easily recover those. The user experience is very familiar, namely the same as for passwords. And then finally, so our products handle this all well and have been certified for 4 years now with these FIDO protocols. All right. Next big part is verify in action. So next, I'm going to show you a number of demos. This kind of a small publicity to try our Verify SaaS, which has a free trial. If you go to IBM Security Verify and type, if you Google that IBM Security Verify, then trial, you will probably get to the link right away, and you can use Verify SaaS for everything I will be showing here in the next few minutes. So first demo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as an administrator on Verify SaaS and show you around on what I've prepared to do the demo. And these are in fact two things. There's a configuration to do, and next there's a configuration related to FIDO. And then there's of course an existing user. Let me show you around. If you can switch to demo again.
Demo, okay.
Then I will switch to my Firefox and log in to the tenant on Verify SaaS that I will be using for the demo. All right, so this is the administrator view of our solution. If you then go to FIDO settings, you can see that there's a configuration to make related to relying parties. So in fact, in my environment, I have two domains. There's the main domain, let's say, that is native in the SaaS tenant itself, which is this one, petervolkart.ice.ibmcloud.com. And then something that I'll explain a little bit further on is there's also a configuration for an application that is using FIDO-as-a-service. Okay, there's really nothing much to configure. There's, so let me show you, for example, for the default one. It has a name, of course, it's bound to a specific, it has an ID. You can choose if there's a need for extra policies checking the device authenticity, meaning that if you want to check if you're using a specific type of hardware security key, you can do that over here. And then there's allowed origins. So this is the domain where the passkeys are bound to. And that's in fact all you need to do. So it's pretty easy to set up.
So you could limit access to people trying to authenticate just to make sure that they're using a certain YubiKey, for example.
Yeah, for example, if I'm a company and I know I've only distributed, for example, 3 different kinds of newbie keys, then I can load this configuration into the system. That's in fact what I've done here, and say and have a policy to say, okay, I want to check if the devices that are using my FIDO keys are from that brand and from that type and so on. And if they're not, I'm simply not going to allow them. And this is in fact something which is also quite different with the discoverable passkeys or the virtual passkeys or multi-device passkeys that we've been talking about. So they don't actually have a manufacturer, right? Because they are created on the go on some platform. Still, they're somewhere safe, right? They're in the TPM, Trusted Platform module, or they're in the how do you call it on Apple again? The secure vault, I guess it's named in Apple. So, but they're not actually bound to a specific device. So this is something that you cannot do with discoverable passkeys. But on the other hand, it's a feature that you can use if you say, okay, I don't want my users to use these discoverable passkeys for a specific website. So lots of possibilities. So users then, I have this, that's of course a big role also in this setup is that you have your users. And if we're talking about e-commerce site with millions of users, you have to store them somewhere. So the Verify SaaS, of course, has this directory where you can store these millions. And the user I will be using for my testing is this one. See. So it's a regular user. It already has a number of multi-factor authentication settings. Namely, I provided it with multi-factor authentication using the authenticator. But as you can see, there's no FIDO in here for this test user. That's something that I'm going to add in the next few moments. So, okay, so this was a short walk within the Verify SaaS. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a passkey for that user. So for that, I'm going to log in the user interface on my tenant. And since I don't have a FIDO or a passkey, I'm going to sign in using username and password. It's already pre-filled. So there I go. So this is the home page of that user. I'm now going to register a passkey, and for that I will have to provide multi-factor authentication. And these are the options that I have. Let me show you how this works with the verify push. I see this push message. I verify this with my Face ID. Okay, and I can now see my verification methods, and most importantly for the demo, I can also add a new method. So let me add a new method here, and that method is a FIDO device. Connect to a device, and what I want to do is I want to have a passkey on this device. So I choose this device. It's prompting me, do you want to create a passkey for this domain? Of course, I say yes. I provide my fingerprints and I give this a name. I can call this, for example, Chrome Canary on Mac, and it's in fact for the name for this tenant. Small verification, done. So this is how easy it is to add a passkey. And you can see, okay, the passkey is there. What's next is, wait, let me see my...
So now your Chrome has stored your private key, and the public key is also stored within Verify, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So I now have this on this Chrome Canary. Let me now do the same. In fact, so this is known on the Chrome. Yeah, let me show you maybe. So if you go to the settings on the Chrome Canary and go to settings, manage passkeys, you will see that there's a passkey for this user. And all you can do with this is change the name. That's all you can do. You cannot see it actually, so you cannot share it. So that's good. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do the same, but on Safari. So if I go to the same site, I'm now also going to register a key on Safari. And
be careful, we can see part of your keyboard.
okay, again, I will have to add a key, and therefore I have to provide two-factor authentication. Let me do the same thing here. Okay. So I want to add, again, a FIDO device. And this is how it looks like on Apple or on Safari in this case. So it's prompting me for this. Do you want to save a passkey? Of course, I say yes. I provide my fingerprints, give it a friendly name. And in fact, a good name, I think, is Apple key. I have to confirm that. Done. Okay, so if we switch back to the administrator view, we can of course see the same now. So while previously I only had my IBM Verify Authenticator, you will now see popping up two new things, namely two FIDO passkeys. One for Apple, in fact, and one for the Chrome Canary. Okay. Okay. Next demo is, of course, it's fine to register. It's better to actually use it. So let me demonstrate that now. So if I sign out here. No, let me close that. So I'm signed out, and now since I have a passkey, I don't have to log on with my username password, but I can use my passkey. So it's prompting me for that. And I'm in. So voila, this is what's happening on Chrome. A similar thing will happen on Safari. So I'm on Safari here. I choose to sign in with a passkey, and I'm signed on. So it's as simple as that. As you can see, the user experience is as good as it gets, I guess, for end users. All right. So I guess this kind of showed the authentication. What else can I show? Yeah. Okay, let me show, because there's a passkey on the Chrome Canary, there's a passkey on the Apple system. There is no passkey on the Chrome, right? So I'm switching back to Chrome here. And for my user, there's no passkey as I'm demonstrating here. So I will have to use something else. So namely my passkey on a mobile device, such as my iPhone. So going to I say I want to log in with FIDO, and it's directly, it discovers that I don't have a passkey over here. So it says, okay, do you want to use a passkey from another device? Yeah, we are in demo mode. Okay. And so I'm scanning this with my camera on my iPhone. It's connecting again via Bluetooth for security reasons to see if I'm nearby. And then it's prompting me, do you want to sign in with your passkey? I say yes.
But here it's taking it from the iCloud keychain, right?
Well, I don't think it is. It has been synchronized by the iCloud keychain, but it's actually on the iPhone. That's my understanding. So it's not actually going out to the iCloud keychain to see if it's there, because the passkey is also on the device itself.
But it's the key it's the key that got stored onto your iPhone or into iCloud when you logged into the Safari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I registered on the Safari. Yeah.
Registers the key
on the MacBook, and then via the iCloud keychain, it was also available through some means. And I don't think Apple is too eager to tell you exactly what is happening. But my understanding, and it's in fact, it's more or less a don't care for the end user, but it's also over here, actually on the in the secure vault of the iPhone.
Yeah.
So it's doing the synchronization. I've tried to look into the iCloud keychain and the keychain access, in fact, but I don't see any passkey there. So it's probably there, but they probably don't want to show it too much, or they. I think we have to be the trust. In fact, we have to trust these password synchronization fabrics. So this is where security ends, and I think they're all doing a pretty good job at this. I've read a few articles on how they secure these synchronization and these passkeys, and it's something that is, yeah, it looks good. I think it's really good. So, okay.
Okay, we're already past the hour. You have other demos to show? Or?
Yeah, I wanted to show one more demo here, or two, in fact. So this is the default experience when going to the console of the Verify SaaS tenant. There's, of course, also a way to integrate your application with the Verify tenant, for example, using let me see what I was planning to do here. Oh yeah, okay. Using an application that you've written on yourself for yourself. So a custom application that is using OpenID Connect and will redirect you to the Verify SaaS. So if I go to one of such an example site here, localhost 3000. Hold on, I think I better use this. So this is an example site which is using OpenID Connect, and it's going to redirect the user to verify SaaS. So if I do that, I get here first, then I log in with my passkey, and then I'm redirected and I'm logged into that website. So this is, of course, also very valuable if you are integrating your applications with verified authentication. You can have you can consume this kind of technique of passkeys and FIDO right away by simply redirecting to the IDP, which is in this case the verify SaaS. Okay, so that was authentication. I wanted to continue with one more demo. I see that we're over time, but for those that still want to hang on for a while, so this FIDO-as-a-service is something that is different and something that we can also provide as well with Verify SaaS as with Verify Access, so with the SaaS and with the on-prem. And we have a number of solutions for that. These solutions, they can be found on the GitHub, as indicated here on the right. And let me shortly explain you on what we did. So users that have a Verify SaaS tenant, they can use the services of Verify SaaS, namely the OpenID Connect and the FIDO services, to build their own application with their own user experience on the level of registration and authentication. And that can then go as follows. And this is an example for the Apple world, in fact, where you have an iPhone or an iPad or a MacBook that's using our relying party kit for iOS that is available on GitHub and can be integrated on such an app. That app then has a simple SDK that will launch REST APIs to sort of a gateway that will convert these simple REST APIs into REST APIs for the Verify SaaS. Hence, building your own relaying party this way. So this is FIDO-as-a-service. It's in fact the part application server example.com in this case, plus the Verify SaaS tenant that are representing the relying party. Another more like an example on how you can use our APIs is an example website, or an example application, I would say, which is called CI FIDO2RP, which is in fact a small Node.js application that can be used as a sort of a framework, building block example when you want to use the FIDO APIs. And this allows you to build your own user experience. If, for example, you think this is necessary because it is very specific and you don't want to use the out-of-the-box Verify SaaS things that are available. So what's happening here is that you have browser clients, they go to this application, and then this application does what it needs to do. It registers you using APIs towards the Verify SaaS. It can create passkeys in Verify SaaS. It can delete passkeys in Verify SaaS, and so on. So so these are the APIs that we have with regard to FIDO. It allows you to register a passkey, delete a passkey, list the FIDO registrations of your users, and so on. So let's do the demo. Again, it's over here on the Canary Chrome that I've prepared it. So for a good understanding, so this application is running here on my Mac, and this is the simple layout it has. It's enough for a demonstration, of course. What I will do here is the following. I have this CI FIDO2RP.com registered as a relying party in my Verify SaaS. If you remember this well, if you go to FIDO settings, you can see over here that it's registered as a relying party. So it can use the APIs and it can use the configuration. Next, I can register my same user, Peter here, with a passkey. Let me do that. So I'm logging in. Okay, I'm logged in with that user now, and now I can register a passkey for that user. Therefore, I may not forget that these are resident key or discoverable passkeys. I register the authenticator. I want to register this device. I give it a nickname and call it Chrome Canary on Mac. It's already there for FIDO 2RP. Save the registration. So this way you can see it. Well, I now have this key registered, and to show that I can again go to my user and show you that it's there. If I look at MFA settings, it will now have an extra FIDO, and that should be this one here over here, registered at 2:18 p.m. and that's that passkey. So it's also clearly demonstrating. So I have multiple passkeys, but of course these passkeys, they are per domain. So this is why I was allowed to register another passkey, because it's for another domain. It's not for the default tenant, but it's for this domain.
And this application uses the APIs to retrieve the same information about the passkey.
Yes. So it's using APIs. So it goes to Verify SaaS to register the passkey, to also to log in the user, to do everything that has to do with FIDO. But you build the experience yourself. So that means that, so for example, when you register a passkey, you need to load some JavaScript, including the WebAuthn API calls as part of that JavaScript HTML to do so. And then with the result, the application can go back to Verify SaaS to actually register the passkey or authenticate the user and so on. So in other words, this application does hold the JavaScript and the HTML, including the WebAuthn calls on itself, with the advantage, of course, that it's extremely flexible on how you want to do the authentication and the registration and so on.
I've put a link to WebAuthn.io into the chat so people can have a look if they want to know a bit more about how this WebAuthn protocol works.
Yeah. So when you do a logout here, next time, because you now have a log key, you can also do this, of course. So I logged out, and I can simply log in using my passkey. There I go. And also I can look at details, which is interesting if you want to know the nitty-gritty on passkeys. right? And you can also delete, in fact, the passkey. If you type delete here, it's going to delete the passkey on the server, on the Verify SaaS, not on the Chrome. So, okay, I can do that, and it will be deleted. And that means that if I now log out and I try to do an login, do you think this will work? No, because there's nothing on the other side. There's no public key on the other side, and this will fail.
Okay, so this passkey in Chrome is useless now. It's still stored in your Chrome, but it's useless. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is quite different from passwords, of course. So in fact, the FIDO credential is a key pair. So you have to have the public key and the private key. If one of those two is missing, you have bad luck. It's unusable. So you can see that in the password manager, the passkey will still be there. But of course, if you can delete it, and but you have to do this kind of maintenance yourself. It's not the client and the server side are not, let's say, synchronizing the health or the existence of the FIDO credential. That's right. You can delete it here if I want. All right. Yeah, switching back to the presentation then.
Yeah.
Okay. Wrapping up again. So I think we've passed. Yeah.
You could probably still spend a few hours if you want.
Yeah, I can keep on talking and demonstrating, of course. I hope there are some questions over there on the chat.
I haven't seen any questions. If the people still have questions, they can still put them in the chat. I've put a couple links into the chat so people can experiment with the kayak, for example, or sign up for a Verify account trial. The link to the CI FIDO 2RP GitHub. So you have all the references over there.
Nice, thank you. So I guess with that, wrapping up again, I would like to thank for all those who have watched this webinar live, and also Yves for being the director, and Shane for being supportive to all of my questions related to passkeys. And I guess for all of us, let's try to make the world a little bit more safer and start using passkeys instead of passwords.
And of course, if you want to review this session, we'll have a recording up on our YouTube channel. So feel free to subscribe and post any questions you will still have in the comments or the chat over there. And hope to see you on the next one.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all, and see you on the next webinar.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.